So, hello there. My name is Helaine Ortmann, and I'm a longtime volunteer with the Bright Run. And I also happen to be a breast cancer survivor myself. Today, we're talking with Cornelia Schupp. Cornelia, welcome.
Thank you.
You're new to the role of volunteer committee lead for the Bright Run this year, but certainly not to the Bright Run community, having been our 2025 spokesperson. Before we get on to other questions, Cornelia, tell us what it was like to experience being our 2025 spokesperson.
I had heard through the grapevine that I was going to be asked to be the spokesperson, and I actually decided I wasn't going to do it. I felt like the last few spokespeople had been newly diagnosed, and I was diagnosed about 18 years ago. So I just didn't feel like my story would be relevant. And then I remember talking to my sister about it, and she said, actually, your story is very relevant because you let people know that there is life after breast cancer, that you can survive for 18 years. And so when Nancy finally had her lunch with me, a lunch with Nancy, is means work, then I was able to say yes at the time. But I really wasn't planning on saying yes originally. I was thinking of saying no. So
Mm.
yeah.
Well, I'm so glad that both your sister and Nancy got to you. And for those people who might be watching this or listening to us who may not, it seems almost impossible that somebody might not know Nancy McMillan. But in case that's the story, Nancy is the Bright Run event chair, and she is just a driving force, a visionary, an all round great individual who is the event chair, as I mentioned, who has been for probably 14 years, a breast cancer survivor herself of 18 going into 19 years, and just recently was awarded a high honor, a meritorious decoration award from the Governor General. So we are all very, very proud of Nancy and we respect her greatly. Cornelia, coming back to your personal connection to breast cancer, which you mentioned your diagnosis in 2007, tell us a bit more about your personal story.
I was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2007. I was 47 years old, and I found a lump on my left breast and went in for various testing. And originally, the local surgeon thought it was a fibroadenoma. And then we did a fine needle biopsy, and then he said, "Oh, it's inconclusive," which basically means nothing. And so then I said, "What do you think I should do?" And he said, "Well, I'm not allowed to tell you what to do, but if you were my sister, I would tell you to, maybe have the lump removed." So I had the lump removed. And when I was supposed to come for a follow-up, he told me that, no, he actually changed the appointment. And then when I came in for the follow-up, he said, "Is there someone here with you?" And I said, "Yeah, my husband." And he said, "Well, can he come in?" And I said, "Well, does he need to?" And he said, "Well, we have something we need to discuss." And that's when he told me that the lump they removed was actually a cancerous lump. And then from there, I was sent to the JCC where I had chemotherapy and radiation, followed by a mastectomy, or not, sorry, tamoxifen for 10 years. And then I had reconstructive surgery after that.
Hmm. So, quite a process.
Yes.
And it was at that very early time that I think you saw an ad for the Bright Run. Is that right? Did you
Yes,
start
they
volunteering?
that was the first Bright Run, actually. So there was a lot of advertising for it, and there were these little bookmarks everywhere. And I remember, I think I even found one of those recently somewhere in the house. I was using it as a bookmark. And there were these little bookmarks saying save the date. And so my husband and I decided we would walk on the first Bright Run, which was at Dundas Valley Conservation Area at the time.
So, your history goes back right to the very beginning of Bright.
Yes.
That's amazing. Let's come forward to now to 2026. And I mentioned that you are the volunteer committee lead. What does that mean?
The volunteer committee is made up of four members, and they've been on the committee for a couple years now, and or several years for some of them. And it's a really strong group of women. And really, it just needed a new lead. There was someone there, and she just decided it was more than she had time for right now. And so that's how I became the lead. Really, everyone really looks after themselves. They're a strong group. You know, there's some that are constant, like I don't know if you know of Julie, but she is constantly working. She treats it like a full-time job. I have to organize the monthly team meetings. We discuss things like how to recruit volunteers. We talk about what design we'd like to have on the new volunteer pin. We talk about volunteer t-shirts. We talk about things that have to do with volunteers.
Right. So, a lot of behind the scenes work that none of us know about.
Right.
Right. Okay. So, as with every volunteer job, it takes that commitment. It takes something special and interesting about you. What would you say there is about your background or you or your interests that serve you in this role?
So in my past, before I retired, I worked in childcare and I was the supervisor of a childcare center for many years. So I think I got gained some leadership skills from that. And I learned how to conduct meetings, how to prepare for meetings, newsletters, how to print up posters and things like that. I have a Bachelor of Arts, and I guess from having a university background, I learned to think critically.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The glue that holds that committee together and the rest of the volunteer community. Because of your background, is that why you said yes to doing it?
Well, I recently retired, so I knew I was going to have more time on my hands. So that's why I said yes. I wasn't prepared for this one the way I was the last time. So I hadn't had a lot of time to think about it. So first I thought, oh man, I don't know if I'm qualified for this. But then I just thought, you know what? There's a lot of people that will help me, and it's a good team that's already a pre-existing team anyway. And Colleen, who was the old program coordinator, she knows all the stuff anyway, so I can ask her. And then there's Julie as well, who knows a lot of the things that are going on. So even though when I wasn't retired, I wasn't able to dedicate as much time to it as I am now, but I knew I would have the time for it, and that's why I decided to do it.
That's great. So you're making a great case for people who may be retired, and even for those who are still working, whether it's part or full time, there's still opportunities for people to find
Yeah,
their way and become volunteers, right?
right. Yeah.
You yourself, like, is there something in particular you hope to learn while being this volunteer or to accomplish while you're this volunteer?
I would like to develop my interpersonal skills. I've noticed that Nancy makes everyone feel good. She's just got a knack for making everyone feel valued, and I would like to pick up some of that. And I want to increase the volunteer numbers because they've been dwindling. I feel like since I've been doing it, I've been learning more about the Bright Run and learning where we can improve. So I've noticed that when we send out emails, not a lot of them get clicked open or get responded to. So that's one of the things I'm working on as well, is to try and find ways to get people to notice our emails and not just look at it as more cyber junk that they're getting.
Sure. And I think that's the name of the game when it comes to the Bright Run. It's from where I sit, I see that, Nancy, the teams that she leads, all of our committees, everyone is always looking at improvement. What's the best way? What's the better way? What else can we do to engage people? So it's kind of wonderful in that it's an organization that is always very much vital, very much alive, and looking to attract those kinds of people, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, I think so. If you could market or advertise to people about the Bright Run and becoming volunteers, what might you say to them to entice them in?
I think there's a lot of people that would like to volunteer, but they just don't know how to start. So I think the thing is to let them know that there are jobs out there. There's so many things that you can do to help volunteer. For instance, when we're at Christie Lake, you don't need any special skills. You can just direct traffic or face paint, or, there's not a lot of, just give people snacks. You don't have to be able to have a lot of skills to do it. And it makes you feel good in the end.
Absolutely, well said. And if people are interested, they can go to the website, right? To
Right.
brightrun.ca. They can search through the website, get lots of information, and as well, there will be a place if they want to sign up as a volunteer, they will make their way through to you. Correct?
Right.
That's perfect. So, Cornelia, on behalf of the Bright community, and also those people who want to and have yet to join us, and there will be those, I just wanted to thank you for your generosity in terms of your time, in terms of sharing your personal history with us, and also your thoughts and your hopes in terms of being this volunteer committee lead this year. So, thanks so much, and see you at Bright.
Well, thank you.